All right.
Chief, another crazy coach in the fitness industry. I love to see it.
Yeah, man, it's a good time.
Why'd you get into it?
Well, I've been involved in sports like my whole life. Like I played soccer since I was 4. I just always loved being involved in some sort of athletic thing, whether it was like playing in my neighborhood or on a team. So I've always grown up playing sports. And then after college, I kind of lost like that. I just felt like I was kind of lost. Like I'm not an athlete anymore. So what do I do? And that's when I kind of like accidentally found CrossFit and started getting really into that. So I've like lifted weights a majority of my life. Like I was one of the only ones and like only girls on the track team in middle school that like wanted to be on the bench press while the girls were doing like, like dainty little things in the corner. And so yeah, I started to take fitness a lot more seriously after graduating college and getting into CrossFit and kind of finding that competitive edge again versus just like I would get bored staring at myself in the mirror, like, what am I doing? I need something to like work towards. So for me, that meant going back to some sort of competitive aspect of it. So,
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and it gives us this sort of sense of identity again. You
oh,
know, I
definitely. Yeah. It's just, it lets me, I like to be active. I don't like to sit around or like be in the house and stuff like that. And I needed something to work towards again. And it's like after you're an athlete in college, it's like, well, now what? Now do I just get a desk job and sit down? It's like, I
Mhm.
couldn't do that. I had to still continue and you can work towards things in lots of areas of fitness. But for me, I just needed that competitive something to work towards, like a competition. Like, oh, what am I reaching? What am I trying to do now? Okay, I have something in October that I'm trying to work towards and that kind of thing. So that's why it really appealed to me. God bless you.
Thank you. I'm fucking allergic to the outside. Honestly, hay fever absolutely slaps me in the face every year, but I mean, I
I
am
didn't
as
have
white as a ghost.
allergies till I moved to Florida. Now I get like sinus infections like 3 times a year, and I'm like, what is this crap? I didn't sign up for that. Yeah, that
Man,
was a wake up call when I moved down here.
I'm the same with New Zealand, man. Like I get it like all year round now. Like I usually get it seasonally back in the UK, right? But like the most of the time it's just fucking frozen. So I don't really have to worry about it. But down here I'm just like, what is going
No,
on?
it's all the time, and it's always at the worst, dude. It's always at the worst time. So I go on tangents. So you got to reel me back in if you don't want this to
Mm-mm.
happen. But
No,
so
you go.
Um, I like I said, I never got sick, but now it's like the past 3 years, I always get sick right before like a big competition or like during a qualifier. And I have one tomorrow that starts, and I'm like, I am not getting sick. And I felt something happening like in my throat on Wednesday. I got that terrifying navage thing that you shove in your nose and it goes through all your areas. I have a very traumatic experience with that before, and I refused to do it, but I was like, no, I am not getting sick. So I've done it like 6 times since then, and I think I'm out of the woods. But yeah, it's like clockwork, man. It's like my body knows something's happening. I'm stressed out, and then it just shits the bed, and I get sick. So yeah,
How much of that do you
great.
think is kind of a placebo of you getting stressed and thinking you're gonna
Oh,
get
it's
sick?
at this point, my coach is like, your body just knows that something's coming up, and it's just it just happens, and it's crazy. Some of it does have to do with travel because I noticed there was like a what's the word I'm looking for, like a connection, I
Correlation?
guess, like a pattern of like I would go on a plane or I would whatever, and I would get sick at the competition or like coming from the competition, just like stuffed up nose, nasal stuff, or like a cough or
Yeah.
something. But yeah, all my like since I don't know if it's because I'm 37 now or whatever, but like competing makes me so ungodly, like nauseous and nervous that like my body just goes into weird mode. Yeah,
Traveling is a big one, right? And you know what kind
yeah,
of pisses me off is we're in the fitness industry, right? So we look after ourselves, or at least 51% of the time.
yeah.
We're in pretty good nick in terms of health, never mind, fitness levels. And then you go travel, right? And you just see the habitual stuff of normal human beings. And you're like, okay, well,
Yeah.
that's probably not the greatest of things. But then they're coughing everywhere and then they're sweating profusively. And you're like, dude, I've looked after myself for like
I
fucking
know.
years
Like I
and
don't
I've got
want
to
to touch
sit
the
next to
seats.
you.
Dude, if I have to fly, I will not. So I will wear clothes on the plane that I don't care about because I will take them off immediately and I will not wear them until I have to go back on the plane. Like I'll wash them because I don't want to, if I put clothes on the plane, I don't want people's germs on me. Like I'm not like a germaphobe, but like those planes are pretty gross. And I'm like, I'm going somewhere, I'm seeing my family or competing. I'm like, I don't want to get sick. So yeah, I'll put, even if it's just like, I don't know, just whatever clothes, I'll put them on. I'm like, all right, these are my plane clothes. I'll put those on later. I'll put on clothes that I want to wear. Yeah. No, it's just a weird thing I do.
I have to admit though, like I was traveling from back home to New Zealand again, around about late December, right? And I was sick as a dog, mate.
Yeah.
Like I was dying. I was like, oh no, I'm that guy on the plane.
Yeah, I'm that guy that I don't like.
I was like, oh no, I'm literally hood up. Just don't look at me, guys. Just don't
Oh,
feed me. I don't deserve it. You know, I'm just like, I'm that fucking guy. Oh shit. But mate, it's strange, isn't it? Like the state of health and the state what people think is quote unquote okay and healthy to kind
yeah.
of live by is bizarre. You know, like even just going home and just kind of witnessing it again, you know, in a
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's all mentality, right? Or it's a lot of times it's not, which I've learned through starting my nutrition company and going through grad school and doing all this stuff. It's like it's all how things are marketed, right? People could think
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I'm eating this healthy food." And they're like, "Do you actually know?" Like, look at the back of it, and they're like, "Oh, like I'm eating vegetables. I'm eating veggie straws." And I'm like, "No, you're not." Like it's, if you've ever watched, if you get bored, you should watch. It's called That Sugar Film. It's about this guy from Australia, and he eats nothing but what's considered health food for 30 days. It's kind of like a spinoff of Super Size Me. And he's like, all right, so my goal is to not go over the allotted amount of added sugar per day, just eating health foods. Spoiler alert, he ends up going through breakfast and he's like, crap, I'm over the allotment of sugar for the day, of added sugar. Now what I got to do? Lettuce the rest of the day? Because like sugar, like oatmeals and cereals and all this stuff, people are, it's marketed as healthy. Even like granola or certain yogurts. It's like if you don't actually read what you're eating, you could think you're eating something healthy and people think they live a healthy lifestyle, but it's like, oh, this is, I fell victim to like this marketing thing. Like they want me to look at these colors and words and think it means something when it means something completely different. So it's a really cool movie just about like the process of that whole thing about people thinking they're eating healthy when it's maybe it's not fast food, but it's also not what they think it is.
Mm. Let's jump
Yeah.
into that because I think the marketing of the food industry is a really fucked up space,
It's
right?
so messed up, man. It's so fucked up. And it's like, oh, it gets me so angry. And that's another huge reason why I started my company was because I just got so fed up of just all the bullshit of all
Yeah.
either whether it's like influencers on social media or the FDA or just people straight up lying or like taking advantage of people because like companies know, I mean, it's a bajillion-dollar industry, right? You could say like, oh, this is going to melt your body fat in 5 seconds. People are going to buy it. And then when they come at you, you could just disappear off the face of the earth and you got all their money and you're good to go. So it's just, there's so much crap and bullshit and it's infuriating.
Why do you think why do you think they can get away with it?
I don't honestly, like say for example the supplement industry, right? It's like it's not
Yeah.
regulated by the FDA. It used to
Yeah.
be, but it got to be so saturated that the FDA was like, all right, you're on the honor system, you figure it out as long as it matches these guidelines, it's fine. So what people will do is they'll like acai was a big thing back in the day, like whatever, a couple years ago. And they'll say like, oh, this is acai, blah blah blah. As long as it had like 1% of what they were talking about, and the rest was filler and bullshit, they're fine because it has what they're saying. And they could, there's specific like terms and like that's why they got lawyers, right? To figure out the ways that they can word things to make you think it's definitely better than what it is. And
Yeah.
unless there's, and it has to, I don't know what the number is, but there has to be so many like instances where it's reported before the FDA will be like, oh, okay, maybe let's like that, or what was it called? Oh, hydroxycut. Yeah, it was like 10 years ago or so where people were dying from taking it because it was like speeding up their heart rate and all the stuff that was in it. So unfortunately, I believe that there has to be so many instances of something going wrong with it before they will monitor it a little bit better. So it's just so saturated, and as long as it follows the little rules they have, they can do whatever they want.
This this is something that winds me up so much is that reactive
Yep.
mindset, right? Of just like I'm gonna wait until I get punched in the face and be like,
And then I'm
oh,
gonna put a band-aid on it. Yeah.
yeah, maybe I should learn boxing. I was like, you're in the ring with Mike Tyson. You're fucked now, bro. Like
Yeah.
we should have learned before we stepped in there, you know, and you see it to an extent of people in the fitness realm in terms of physically when you come into the CrossFit gym, right? And sometimes that's our job to just spin that mindset. But in terms of food, it's every motherfucker that goes in the supermarket, i.e., everybody in society, right? And
Yeah.
it's like we gotta try and get them of like dude, just kind of spin that motherfucker around. And if there's stuff that you
Yeah.
can't pronounce, which is a lot of things for me, right? Because I'm
Yeah, yeah,
dyslexic as shit. So I'm like, I don't really know what this is. You know, you probably just put it back. But if there's like an ingredients list of 17 different things, probably turn that back so it's facing out and just stick it back on the shelf, you know, and just carry on, pick something
and it's
else up.
just like, and that's why I love, so I have three different programs that I coach, and one of them is based off of like heavily off of nutrition education, because I found that like that stuff is just missing. Like nobody teaches you how to read a food label, how to deal with like decide or deciphering through like all the bullshit. And it's like, why has no one taught us what these words mean or what to actually look for on a food label, or like the sneaky things they do with serving sizes to make it fit under specific rules, even though you're gonna eat 12 of those servings, but because it says zero trans fat, it doesn't mean zero trans fat. I can, yeah. So it's like that's one of the huge things we go over, and it's like just being more aware, and like that's, and I love like the transformations and stuff my clients go through, but I love when they're like, oh my god, I'm so much more aware of what's going on. Like I
Mhm.
understand like what this means now, and it's like it's kind of like a light bulb that goes on, because like you're just thrown in an aisle and you're just reading stuff, and oh, this says low fat, that must mean it's good, but what is the actual low fat compared to what does low fat mean, what is the criteria that it falls under for it to be low fat or reduced fat, because those are two different things. And
Yeah.
it's like understanding, okay, the reason there's so much crap in that item in the aisle is so it can sit there for months when you don't pick it. So then, 6 months later, you're like, oh, this is still good. Okay, I can eat this now. And it's like, we need to do less of the inside shopping and more of the perimeter shopping, and just understanding more of what the heck we're actually putting in our bodies. And it's hard because nobody teaches it unless you go to school or you like reach out and like find a coach and stuff like that. You're really left to just trust what you see on TV and social media. And there's a lot of like Netflix documentaries, right, that are great, but if you watch enough of them, you'll see that they all have like a very specific underlying message that feeds whatever they're trying to get at. And it sucks because there's some really good ones, but then I'm like halfway through it, I'm like, oh, it's keto, or oh, it's anti-dairy, or oh, it's don't do this. And there's always some sort of just
What's the
plan behind it,
agenda?
but if
Yeah.
you watch all of them, the same thing in all of them is eat more whole food and less sugar, like through all of them, regardless if it's plant-based or keto or carnivore or whatever the hell bullshit they want to make up that week. Like in all of them, they're all talking about eating more whole foods and less processed sugar. So yeah,
I love the education string to that book. Like, I think that is fucking rad, you know, because I
I love it.
agree. It,
It's yeah. I used to be a high school teacher, so it was a
ah,
very easy transition for me to like go into that, because like the students would be like, "What the hell are you talking?" And their parents would be like, "Can I come to your class? Because I don't understand what my kid's homework is about." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, just come on." So yeah, it's just really eye opening, and it's just I love the light bulb, like I said, like goes off in my clients just to understand, like, oh, like I actually understand what's going on now, like the relationship of food and like stuff that, because it's a lot more than what just goes on in your mouth, right? But what you're eating, it's like your hormonal imbalances, all the metabolic processes that goes on in your body. I have gotten into several fights on social media about thermodynamics and like energy or calorie in versus out, right? Because they're like, oh, that's all that matters. And I made a post like a year ago, right before a big competition. And my God, God forbid I said that calories in versus out is not the only thing that matters. The hate I got, and I just went at it, man. I don't even care, because I've had a client who had Hashimoto's disease, and her doctor told her not to eat more than 500 calories, but she couldn't lose weight and she was gaining weight. And I'm like, what do you? Yeah. Anyway, I finally got her to eat about 3 times that. Took a little bit, but she ended up losing weight. And it's like we go through all these things thinking like, oh, I just have to eat less than what I expend. But it's like your body does thousands of processes a day. You think it's doing math, and it's gonna be like, oh, you ate one less calorie than what you took in. Great, you're in a deficit today. Like there's just so much more to it. And that's what I'm trying to explain to people is it's a more than just quality versus quantity and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things that go on beyond that.
what was that disease she had?
What's that?
What was the disease she had?
Oh, Hashimoto's. So it's like an
Wow.
autoimmune disease. Yeah.
Boom, there you go. Like, for everybody who doesn't know, autoimmune disease, like it's not going to be that simple little equation, right? Of like this minus
Yeah.
this. Oh, okay, we're in a positive or a negative. Like
Yeah.
I
There's a
complete
lot of other, yeah.
for sure. I completely agree, right? Like how you sleeping, what you stress, like what are you doing? What's the state of the body anyway? You know,
Yeah.
nervous system might be out of whack. immune system might be out. You might just be an absolute train wreck. And you're like, "Ooh, okay, like food's kind of secondary. We gotta sort you out first, right? You are the
Yeah, and
foundation, the brick and mortar."
yeah, it's exactly. It's funny you say that because I had a family it was a husband and wife and two sons, and of course all the boys saw like pretty like quick changes, blah blah blah. And the wife was like, why am I not changing at the rate that they are? Right? We get to this comparison game, and it's like
Oh, you just gone, just muted. Hold on, Jessica, I need you. Oh,
the way I wanted to see it. So,
just revisit that. You just muted for a second.
oh, I was getting a call and I didn't know how to shut it off.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
try again.
okay.
Where did you lose me?
Comparison game.
Okay, so the wife was like comparing her weight loss or her changes to the rest of her family, right? But we found out that she had gone through years of yo-yo dieting and like up
Mm.
and down and everything. So her body needed to take time to repair all that stuff first before it changed in the way that she wanted to see it. So and it did happen, but she was traveling. She was going from Florida to Georgia. She was a teacher, which alone is a crazy stressful job. But she had a lot more stress on her plate and a lot more crazy schedule and fighting all these things that she had done before. So it's just like we get caught up in this, like, well, they're doing this is happening for them faster than me, or they're changing more than I am. Why? And it's like, you can't, that is impossible unless you have two people that have done every single thing, every movement they've made in their entire life, and they're twins, or so, that probably won't even work still. But you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Everybody's different, and it's like we get caught up in that comparison, and there's just so much stuff that goes on, like we were talking about in our bodies, that we can't dictate like, oh, I'm going to lose a pound this week, and that's what I say, so that's going to happen. Like it's not like that.
Yeah, that comparison game's a killer, man. Whether it's the internal processes going on or whether it's, in the gym,
Oh
or
yeah,
whether it's at work outside of our weird, crazy industry that we call fitness, right? Like
it's
it
everywhere.
it's a killer. You're like, wait, hold on, what's Mr. Jones doing over there? And you're like, fuck him. At the end of the day, let him do what he wants to do. Like we got to
Yeah,
focus on what we're doing, and it's those little chess steps that gets us to the end of the board for checkmate. And
exactly.
ultimately,
That's I like that one. Yeah, that's why, because my business is called OPB Nutrition, 1% better, because it's literally just little things you do every day, and it's like everybody wants these overnight results, and it's like that's not gonna. And you hear that all the time, but it just doesn't stick. And like, oh, do this in up to 20 or up to 20 pounds in 20 days, whatever. But even same thing with fitness. Like I fell victim to that all the time. And I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I'm the past year or so, I just started to realize like I can't compare where I am to what somebody else is doing, because God bless you. um, that's only going to keep taking away from what I'm doing. And it's going to make me forget the progress and like the wins I had last week. I'm going to forget about it because I'm just worried about what so and so's doing. And it happens to everybody. Like I don't know how much you follow CrossFit, but Haley Adams is one. She podiums. She's one of the top
yep.
athletes in the world, and she just came out about her mental health and her eating disorder and how much she just started hating it because she was so worried about like the end result and what everyone else was doing and what people thought of her, that it just robbed her of just the enjoyment of it. She's taking a break now until she can figure all that out.
I think that's great. It's
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you're just starting or if you're a friggin' pro athlete. It's everywhere.
but you got to keep that in check, and
Yeah.
she is now our example of Simone Biles, right? And
Exactly. Yeah.
I think both of them are phenomenal, as in phenomenal examples, and also phenomenal people that are coming out of doing that, and also phenomenal
Mhm.
athletes. You can't
Yeah.
deny any one of those, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, you're getting a lot of money, you're doing yeah, okay, great, but like you could be doing what you love and painting. But if
Yeah.
mentally you're going through the ringer, are you going to want to get up and pick up a paintbrush every day? No. So are you going to want to
Yeah.
do a fucking 4 pirouettes and flip around the place? Probably not. Are you going to want to pick up 100% of your Warren Max and put it above your head? Probably not.
Yeah.
So it's putting the human back in humanity, right? Like we have this the thing where we look at other humans, we compare to them, and then we take out the human out of them and be like, this is kind of a robot, this is a machine, and they should always be able to perform perfectly. And
Yeah.
you're like, that's not what we are. That's why we will always be the beauty in the world rather than AI, right? Because that's great. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. It does a load of shit and it's going to help us. Fantastic. But this weird kind of like, oh, today I'm just off and today I'm just going to move around, or today, like, I need more
Yeah.
food or less food or whatever, and more sleep, less sleep. That's the beauty because it's this organic, moving piece, right? And I was like, yeah, that's fucking being a human.
Yeah. And it's like there's like a I think we got to this point because that was seen as being weak, right?
Yeah,
Or that
yeah.
was seen as like, oh, she's not as competitive or she's not as good at whatever she does because she's showing that she's weak or human, or like, God forbid you don't post everything perfect on your Instagram. Like, and that just built up. And it's like, I think people are starting to kind of get sick of it, because I'm seeing more posts on social media about this versus that, like Instagram versus reality, or like, hey, don't be afraid to post the fails and stuff like that. And it's, hopefully we're going to just keep going in that direction, but there's still just so much. It's still very overpowered by the bullshit, and like the people who are
Yeah.
trying to show that they're perfect and their fake perfect lives and everything. And it's, I just hope that especially like teenagers and, I mean, even adults too, but more so like the kids growing up, seeing that and realizing, all right, this is not real, and being able to compartmentalize that in their brain, like, this is okay, this is not real, this is not real, I shouldn't be comparing myself to that.
Yeah, like it's an issue, right? Because I mean, we're growing
Yeah.
up, you watch a movie, right? And you're like, oh, it's not real, it's okay. It's like, yeah, but how many movies are you gonna watch in a week?
Yeah.
Very few. But
This
not
is all the time. Have you seen
everything.
like the filters they have now?
I'd stick away, try and stay away
Oh
from
my
shit
God.
like
It's,
that,
and I
man.
don't use TikTok that much, but every once in a while I'll try to like stay with it, or like at least post something, but I never even go through the feed. But there's that, it's crazy. It puts like a new face on your face. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
it's
my
not for
God,
me.
like if you don't know what that person looks like and realize, how is this okay? Like, they kept talking about it being banned, and I'm like, just cut it off. Just, and which sucks because a lot of people make a lot of money on TikTok, but oh my God, it's just so friggin' toxic. It's infuriating. It's just like, I don't want to have kids because I'm afraid they're going to grow up in this world and it's just going to be like, just, I don't know. I don't know. It's
Yeah, my
scary.
my biggest thing, right, is like innovation is always going to happen, right? And that's the
Yeah.
thing. We're trying to push towards progress, and that's the idea of every industry, right? But my biggest thing is what's the conversation around it? And if the conversation is zero, then we're all fucking idiots because we're just running in one direction, right? And you're like, yeah, 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 yeah. But we have to assess our own bias towards it or against it. We need to assess how we can implement it. Don't just like release it into the wild and be like, oh, well, 1,000 people got fucked up by it. Huh, we'll learn from it. It's like, no, that's 1,000
Mm.
human beings, and
Yeah.
they've all got families and stuff. So it's like, okay, we got this thing, great. I understand you wanted to do it for innovation and to push something. Okay, fine, mega. But how are we teaching people about it?
Yeah.
Because
There needs to
fucking
be more of that. Yeah.
100% Tweedledum and Tweedledee over here working in the bloody fitness industry and like to eat apples and throw barbells. And I'm like, I don't understand what a computer is. I still
Yeah.
don't get it. Coding, go talk to somebody else, man. I'm okay. Like,
Yeah.
I will throw a wall ball at a target and try and catch it. I'll call that fun rather than anything else. But it's
Yeah.
we we try and run before we can walk, and then we trip up, right, and slam our face into the floor and be like, "Oh, that was dumb." And then we walk the next couple steps, and then we run again, and it's just like,
Yeah. It's
guys,
all
can
about
we?
money, man. It's all it's runs it. It's like, oh, this is this idea. We can make money from it. Let's do it. They don't care
Yeah,
about the end result. They don't care about what happens to everybody else. They're just like, this is a great idea. Like the meta world and all that stuff. Like, oh, we're gonna make so much money from it. We can put products everywhere. We can do this. Same thing with any type of like social media. Like you see the ads, you see this, whatever filter. I don't know. It's all run by money somehow, and it's just like, when
yeah.
when is it going to get better? When is it? I don't know how to change it. I could, God bless you. I can like complain about it. I can try my best to educate people about things, but like, I'm only me. I'm only one person, and I don't know how to make that better, man. Because it's everything is run by money and what people can gain from whatever they're doing.
I don't know what it's like in the States because I've not really been there nor spent a significant amount of time. But post COVID. right? In terms of
Mm.
socially is our job, right? I'm interested in that and the soft skills. I don't really give a fuck about much else. Like, let's just leave that to the more intellectual people, you know? But I'm
Yeah.
like, socially, people are fucking off. Like, they
It's
are weird.
it's one was something sad. So because I'm in Florida, once Florida COVID was very different than like New York COVID. Okay, my family's in New York, so I got to hear like things that we're pretty even on like our views and stuff. Um, so once things started to open up back in Florida, everybody was like, "Sweet, let's do it." You know, like we were out doing whatever. But in New York, I mean, I forgot it even was. I went home. I had to fly to Ohio, get a rental car, and then drive to New York so I can go see my family for Christmas because you could not go from Florida to New York, or have any sort of connection because they would want your papers. They're like, oh, show us your flight, show us this, show us your vaccination, show all this stuff, and I'm just like, I just would like to see my family, and I'm gonna stay in their house all week. So it was insane, but like it took them at least an extra year to be able to like be normal again. But I have triplet nieces. They just turned 6, so this was what 3 years ago. So they were 3, and their whole life majority of their life was just in a mask and they thought that was normal. They're like, okay, we have to leave the house, put your masks on. And they were 3, they didn't understand what was going on. So like for a solid couple years, they just had to walk around with masks on. And that's what they thankfully they have each other, so they're not like socially awkward. But like if you're by yourself or you only have one kid or whatever, and you don't know what that's like for them to miss those years of school or whatever, like that's developmental years, you know, and it's just like they missed that, and now they got to either make up for it, or I'm sure some places are still segregated as far as like don't do certain things, but it's just sad, man. They missed a good chunk of their life already because it was
Yeah.
behind a mask and they weren't allowed to interact with anybody. So it's just, oh, it's weird.
It was so weird how people got segregated on viewpoints, right? And I was like,
Oh, but
we're
that's the whole point, man. I mean, it's the more when it first all happened, like I'm not very political. I don't like post it, whatever. But like the more things that are coming out, it's like, oh, okay, like starting to kind of, I don't want to get like too into it, but like it's just becoming more aware of like the purpose behind a lot of this stuff. And
yeah,
it's like, like you see people on the news, they're wearing masks. So when the camera's off, oh, the masks are off and they're hugging each other. It's like, well, you just told us to put masks on, and 5 seconds later you're all together and you're all hugging each other. Like I don't, what are we supposed to do? Like what are we supposed to believe,
yeah,
but it was very weird here for a little while because it was just everybody was like, if you felt one way and somebody felt another way, you were gonna battle, and like you better walk away or else you're gonna kill each other. Like it was just so pathetic.
yeah. I mean, I gotta admit, it was weird everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of the time we get all cooped up in our own little ecosystem, right? We're like, oh, we've got it really fucked up. We've got it really good. No,
Yeah.
guys, everywhere was buggered. You
It
know,
was just, yeah. There was, I think it was Italy or something where they had like, was it Italy? It might have been Italy where they were like was mandatory. They had to be in their house. If you were on the streets, you got like arrested, and like they actually had something similar, like driving bans and stuff here. But like I remember seeing something from another country. I want to say it was Italy, but that it was just very, very crazy strict enforced, and like it just I would have been paranoid my whole day, my whole life. I would have been paranoid that whole time.
it's crazy, man. Fucking wild time to be alive, mate.
It's not boring, that's for sure.
No, I'll just stick with a barbell. Thank you. No less people. Dude, I got 3 questions.
Yeah.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh man, you're coming at me with like philosophical shit.
Come
Um,
on, you're a New Yorker. You should be able to fucking come out with something.
Well, I don't want to come up with like the first thing because that's gonna be like, really? That's true. I mean, I want honestly, it was something that was more freeing to me, and it's kind of like we've already touched on a little bit, just realizing that what I'm doing, like all I can do is my best of what I'm doing, and that has to be enough. Like I
Yeah.
can't, whether it was in my career because I was a teacher, and like being a teacher, it's there's like this weird like unspoken competition between teachers. Like, oh, well, I did this with my students, or I did this with my students. And it's like, there's comparison there, and it's like at home, in relationships, at your job, at fitness. It's like, it's so easy to lose what you love when you get caught up in that stuff. So for me, talking with my coach and just back and forth, and it took her years to beat this into my head, but like really understanding, like, if I can give my best effort at something, it has to be good enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
going along with that is in training, there's I don't know if this is like a piece of advice, but it was a video I saw, and it was this Olympian, and she was talking about there's rules of three, right? There's
Yep.
days where you're gonna feel amazing, days where you're gonna feel okay, and days where you're gonna feel shit. And it has to be those have to happen. Because if you only have good days, how good is that good day if they're all good? You know what I mean? And the bad days, it's like, all right, this is a shit day, but it makes those good days feel even better. And you're allowed to have bad days. Like it's like everybody thinks like you have to go to the gym and every day it has to be perfect. Are you kidding? If I get one good day a week, I'm ecstatic. I'm like, yes, I had 2 good days this week. Like, what's going on? You know? So it's like putting all that together, like realizing it's okay if I have a bad day in the gym. It's okay if I'm not perfect, blah 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 with what I'm doing. And I
Yep.
translate to my clients too. Like they say, like, oh my God, I ate a cookie today. And I'm like, okay, what's your point? Like it's you didn't eat 12 packs. You didn't like do this for weeks. Like it's like understanding like you are human and trying to figure out how to make this stuff work within your daily life and being human. That is a lot more powerful than trying to be perfect, trying to follow somebody else, trying to do something else that you think other people. That was another part of it. I'm just going to keep going. So for me, whenever I would have a competition, like I would get wrapped up in like the expectations, right? And it's like nobody really cares. Nobody's watching every move you make. Like you get lost in your own world thinking like everybody's watching what I'm doing and they're expecting this and this and this, which is usually coming from a place of like support, like, oh, you're gonna win this, you're gonna go and you're gonna podium, you're gonna win. And it's like, I don't think you understand what I'm about to go do. But
Yeah.
you know, and it's like that paralyzed me for a long time. And it's like just finally understanding of like where I am versus where I started is a huge difference. And you can never lose that because it could just take all the joy out of it, you know? So whatever I
Agreed.
just said, sum it up in one answer.
I completely agree though.
Yeah.
Perfection is fucked. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh God. Um, the worst piece of life advice. I could tell you one of the dumbest things I've done. I don't know if it was advice because I kind of took it upon my own self to do it, but I tend to do things that my friends would dare me to do, even if it was not smart. So this was in 2018 because it was right before the Open, and if you follow CrossFit, like that's the start of the season. And so I got 4 rowers. I put 2 like this and 2 like this. Put my hands on the front, my feet on the back, and you were supposed to expand and go. It was like an ab exercise. You would go all the way out and then come all the way back in. I did it, and then I did it again. And when I came back in, my shoulder dislocated and I tore my labrum from top to bottom.
Oof.
Yeah, and I had to get surgery. So don't terrible life advice would be to do dumb things that your friends say to do when you should probably should not do it. That was a pretty severe moment in my life, I guess you could say. So yeah, don't do that.
Learn from Jess. There should be a t-shirt.
Yeah, don't just do what I say, not as I do, and
Yeah.
become a lot more mature in challenges that I take on. I won't do that stuff anymore, but you know, live and
It's,
learn, I guess.
it's funny because as you're saying it, I'm like, I could do
See, you get sucked in.
that.
Oh, I have a video of it and everything. Yep, April 12th, 2018. I believe that's when it happened. No, that's when I had surgery. It happened in March, I think. But yeah, dumb.
Last question. What are the 3 words you tell your younger self?
Can I have four? Can I have 4 words?
Yes, you may.
Thunder thighs are cool
Yes.
because my dad used to call me thunder thighs when I was in high school and middle school, and I like hated it. Hated it. I was a bigger kid. I wasn't like overweight, but I was a bigger kid. I played soccer. I had huge legs, and I was a tomboy. The boys in my neighborhood made fun of me, like all this stuff, and I wanted not to be that. And then like now I'm so thankful that like I found CrossFit and like I love being like looking different and figuring out like what my body can do. But like back in the day, man, when you were younger, especially little girls, like they want to be a certain way or they're told to look a certain way or whatever. And it's just like being okay with yourself, you'll find where you want to be, where you need to be. So that yeah,
Mm.
you can call thunder thighs one word are cool. Yeah.
From the fires are cool. Love it.
Yeah.
Jess, thank you so much. This has been an honor and a
You're welcome.
privilege.
Oh, it's been fun. Thanks for having me. This was great.
Mate, you're always welcome to come back and talk shit and shop.
Yeah, right? Good, cool. I'll look forward to it.
Thank you so much. All right, you have a
You're
great
welcome.
day and we'll speak soon.
You too. Bye.
Thanks, man. Bye, everybody.